So I'm a I'm a socialist, right? And I support
We couldn't tell.
yeah, I support socialist states in history. So, like, think about Cuba, right? Cuba was an Epstein island before it had its revolution. There were people that were enslaved on plantations. There were sex slaves. There were mob-run casinos. The Cuban people had a revolution and seized all that land. At the time, that land was 40% owned by American billionaires, right? Who were going to that island and having sex with children and gambling and doing all the stuff they're doing on Epstein Island, right? And when they called the Cuban people authoritarian, who were they referring to? They were putting to death plantation owners, and yes, obviously, like anytime you have a revolution, things are not going well in your country. There were times when they overstepped their bounds. There were times when they made mistakes. But at the end of the day, this resentment, this stuff that's happening against Cuba today, with the Trump administration starving them off, that's also based in a resentment from people having a revolution do that same thing. One of the things in the Epstein files, right? He was working to help unseat Soviet power in the 1990s because he saw that as a ripe market. They're like white. This is like because of white supremacy, which is awful. But like white women are more valuable in the trafficking industry, and the most exploitable white women are in Eastern Europe. There weren't these same level of sex trafficking networks that were happening when the Soviet Union was in power. And again, it's not to say they did everything perfectly, but for this particular crime, they held that stuff at bay. And I would say that's evidence that a socialist system, when they call it authoritarian, what they're referring to is that they punish billionaires for doing the kind of things billionaires do. And I would highly suggest to anybody just revisit your Cold War history, look at how those countries were organized and what they were doing, because I think what you would find that they were doing a lot by their people that was actually working, increasing literacy, increasing life expectancy, and stopping sex trafficking. So
I asked him like, what could he do? Where
But that's the thing.
maybe
See, Chalo, you always go, oh man, it's not a Republican, it's not a Democrat thing. And the very first thing you say is, I asked my Trump.
no. Listen, because let me finish what I was saying though, because I was asking him, was it something that he could do that would change their mind about him, and they said no. So what I'm trying to say is, like, you have this elite class, but they have an army that's nowhere near elite, and it's a lot of them, like Mark, in support of them. You see what I'm saying? You have to account for those people who believe that they're a part of that, or one day they could be a part of that
Hmm.
class too. You have to account for them. It's a lot of them. It's a lot, bro. I'm telling you, it's a lot of Mark. It's a
There we
lot.
It's
go.
the
The guys
majority
in
of the
office.
party.
Yeah.
It's a majority of the party. They believe them and Elon are like this, peas and carrots. I mean, but the thing is, it's hard to convince them because
So,
they
so
think that
you're right, and you're trying to put this community together, and you need the unity of all the people all the have-nots. You need all the have-nots to come together. And if you got the group of the have-nots over there being their personal army, that's what you have right now. You have a ton of have-nots being his personal army. Well, not him, but the elite. That's who they don't understand that whole dynamic. They believe in someday they can be that status. You see what I'm saying? When the system is rigged against that. Because if it was made where it would be that easy for you to be it, then it wouldn't be an elite. Because everybody, that class, that 1% would keep increasing every single year if that was the case. Work hard, go to work every day, and one day it'll
Right,
happen.
the myth that we were all taught, right? That myth
One
that
day it'll happen
right?
for you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? All
I,
you got to do is go to work every day and work
here's where I
hard
here's
and
where I
save your
disagree with you,
money.
man. Here's where I disagree with you, man. And because this came up on the Israel Palestine day, on the Gaza day too. I don't believe in black and white dynamics. I don't believe in right or wrong, or haves or have-nots. It's not going to take all of the have-nots getting together. It's going to take all of the have-nots getting together, along with most of the have-somes and some of the have-a-lots, to deal with this situation. And I don't. I wish I had more faith
I
in that.
see what I see what you said. Yeah, I get that. That's a good way to put it. Because there is a spectrum. It's not just two.
It's not. I've been screaming that, not screaming because I'm old and I'm tired. I've been saying this for a long time now. Like it's time for complicated, nuanced language to make its triumphant return, because
Well,
It's complicated,
Yeah.
and I think we have um, more so with every generation this tendency to try and simplify everything. Guess what? This shit's not simple. It's not. It's not simple.
Yeah, you know what? Your analogy, the way you put that is makes me think of the Obama presidency when the first time he won. Because you would have
That's
thought it's going to take all the black vote, but it was like it's going to take all the black vote. It's going to take some brown vote. It's going to take some woman vote. It's going to take some white vote. So your point is well taken. That's a good way to put it, man. I
that's
appreciate
a
it.
hell of a compliment, Jesus. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's complicated in the sense of like uh, America's a highly propagandized society, and as a result of that, like you can look at the documents of the CIA, like purposely releases all different kinds of propaganda targeted at different groups of people. They don't really even care. They have stuff on the left, they got stuff on the right. They try to keep people divided so that we won't rise up, right? But like, I also think like in terms of like the way the system is running, it's not really a morality issue. Like the system is incentivizing greed and cruelty to get ahead, and everybody is using greed and cruelty. Like a lot of the reason regular Americans won't rise up is because they're comfortable, right? And so they're putting their head down, going to work, and saying, "I'll get mine." And like, it's sad what's happening to these kids in these ICE detention centers, and it's sad what's happening to these kids in Gaza. But it's not worth me getting off my couch and going out and doing something about it. And so, like, I think that part is complicated. Like, how do you motivate all these people? But I think if you keep telling the truth and you keep pointing people's heads in the right direction and you keep appealing to their common sense of good, it's also not complicated. Like child molestation, genocide, these types of crimes that we see being committed in the world, these are like the easiest moral bars to clear. They're not the hardest moral bars to clear, right? Like if you can't be against genocide, then you just don't have a morality, right? So I think this is all actually pretty simple in terms of like what's right and what's wrong. The hard thing is like, how do we get a propagandized, docile, apathetic populace to move? So yeah.
Let me just say that this is the reason why I keep going back to the economic conversation, because when people are complacent. That's really what it comes down to. As long as you can turn the TV on, watch your show at night, and drink a beer, and then on the weekend maybe go watch a game, then everything seems all right. You can block everything. You can block kids getting raped. You can block murder in Gaza. 80,000 people dead over there. Genocide is happening. How many people actually care? They might post about it. I post about it. What am I doing about it? Nothing. I've gone to protests, and stuff like this, but I'm not actually doing anything. Like, that's what Rod said. Like, we're going out, we're protesting, but what am I doing? Like, I still have to pay my mortgage on my house. That's a priority, right? Like,
That's a good
complacency.
point. I see where you're coming from, and I do agree with you on that. Because, like, you'll hear, like, everybody will be pissed on Friday, right? So Monday through Friday, it's like everybody punches the clock and they're pissed about something. And then we're like, oh, it's the NFL playoffs. Civil War's on hold till Monday. And then everybody's just living their happy weekend. And then Monday we hear what the news is, and we start. So I see your point now, and your point is valid, even though I don't think it's as blanket as you earlier stated. But I totally see what you're saying. Like that makes a lot of sense.
And that's something you see this throughout all the time. I mean, with the Romans, it was the gladiators. Whenever some big uprising was about to happen, hey, let's throw a gladiator fight real quick to get the people distracted. So those, I agree with you on that. You know what I mean? Those distractions are there for a reason. It's because
that $2,000 thing from Trump, that's a distraction, man.
I also don't mean to say that I don't think it's like individual people's personal morality or personal fault, right? Like people, like you were saying, V, like people have bills to pay, people have rent. Like we work a lot of hours in America. Like we actually work more hours than medieval serfs did, right? Like we have a highly stressed out, highly traumatized population because we also live in an extremely violent society, and it's just been like I don't think the Epstein files are like this stuff's been happening going back. Like Epstein's been around since the Iran-Contra scandal, right? So he's been doing this stuff for 40, 50 years, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like this isn't new. What's happening is that people are waking up. People have been educated to believe that things that were once normalized were wrong. Like Kid Rock, when that controversy recently, when he came out on SNL 20 years ago and said, if there's grass on the field, play ball, about the Olsen twins. Like, I remember people telling that joke at my high school. we were laughing about it when we were minors, right? Why did we find that funny? Because that had been normalized for us by adults in our culture, right? Now people have been educated and they're seeing things in a different way, and they look at it and they go, "Holy shit, it's violent!" But it's been, I mean, like things have gotten worse too. Like our government is in sort of a unwinding, right? But also this stuff has been around for a long time, and we just haven't been looking at it, right? We've just been trained to look away from it. So
We've been conditioned. You know
yeah,
what I mean? You're right. That's like conditioning that we had happen to us. I'm 100%. Like if you just think about it, I mean, if I mean just I mean, bring up like porn. I mean, the stuff that they categories they have. You got a stepfather going to go see his stepdaughter. You know what I mean, or stuff like that. Barely legal.
Barely legal, yeah.
Just turned 18. I mean, you can go to Reddit and see. That's because they're conditioning they're conditioning people into thinking that's normal, and they're trying to normalize it. And I think that's part of the reason why Epstein was able to get away with a lot of the stuff that he was able to get away with for so long, and the elite's able to get away with a lot of the stuff they were able to get away with for so long.
But
They conditioned.
I
there's
think he
always
was getting away with
think
it
the
though
money.
because he was
The
blackmailing.
there's always an Epstein.
Yeah, the
There's
money.
always an
Yeah,
Epstein.
That's fair.
yeah. So
Money is why he got away with it.
He's
but here's the thing. Like you said, Rod, there's always an Epstein because there's somebody out there right now that's doing the exact same thing that Epstein's doing right now. It's not like these people all of a sudden say, "Hey, we're
I
not
got the
sexually
one.
assaulting." Yeah, we're not. Hey,
We got the
they
one
got us
boogeyman.
now. Right? They didn't all of a sudden say, "Hey, he's gone now. We're going to stop sexually assaulting kids." No, they moved on. There's somebody else there right now that's got the
Right.
exact same thing going on. So
Right.
Epstein is just one of many.
Yeah,
So
that's for sure. That's for sure.
yeah,
right.
Yeah, but you gotta think about no one can tell you how this dude got his money.
No, we know how
Yeah.
we can. We know how we got his money.
Well,
Yeah.
Get it?
I think
So
The guy was an influence peddler.
so the beginnings of it had to do with a Ponzi scheme. The beginnings had to do with the Ponzi scheme. So he basically was given a job where he was getting paid $70,000 a month, and then there was a Ponzi scheme. He was given a huge chunk of change. That guy, the guy that went down for it, he settled with the government, so the government never did a full-on investigation, and so Epstein was actually cited as an uncharged co-conspirator in that scheme. That's how he made his first major million, and then he took that money and then got his first client, Leslie Wexner. And then from Leslie Wexner, that's how he became
I was told he got rich off the Iran Contra. Right after that,
that was
he
part
was
of
doing
it.
doing something with that, and then after that, that's when he started getting money.
yeah, he was a. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He
Oh,
was
he was a.
No,
he was
Go ahead.
teaching at the Dalton School. This is the
Yes.
thing that I think you got to be from New York, and you almost have to be from New York from a given time to really understand this. There's nothing that's far-fetched at all about there being a concentration of Epstein supporters involved in this administration, right? There's nothing that's odd about that at all. This is always the way that it's worked in financial centers in general, all around the world. New York is our financial center. The Upper East Side is the Upper East Side. I grew up adjacent to these people, right? I was never one of them, and I was never going to be one of them. But I dated their daughters, right? Like this is how wealth works. This is how large wealth continues to grow and become generational legacy money.
I think.
This is how it happens. And a guy like Jeffrey Epstein from the suburbs of Long Island got himself in the middle of it. He was teaching at the Dalton School, which is, I don't know the Florida or the Texas equivalent of the Dalton School, but the Dalton School is a direct feed of the gold and silver, and the Dalton School is we all knew kids that went to the Dalton School.
So he was.
Daddy worked at either Bear Stearns or Goldman, and he impressed somebody at the right time, and that's how he got his start. And one thing led to another, and he was all through the 80s, which was the epitome, the Gordon Gekko greed is good era. And one thing led to another, and the guy's a fucking pedophile, and he leveraged that. Right? This guy he's a power broker. He's an influence peddler. Right?
Yeah, he was an intelligence agent, right? I mean, like he was linked to Mossad, CIA, former Russian intelligence.
That guy, what's his name? Barack.
Yeah, Ehud
Yeah.
Barak trained him. So like
Ehud
he
Barak.
he
But
yeah
he's that's taking it to conspiracy land, right? Because he touched all of those people and all of those things, but his goal was not aiding Israel. His goal was not becoming a
that's
spy. His goal was fucking little girls and making mountains of
no
money.
no
That's it.
I wasn't about to say that, but what I was saying is like he was being backed by people in different. He was working as I think a lot of guys in intelligence are like this. They're not working for any one country. These are people that are they're using states to procure capital and they're working between each other. But like if you look at like what a state is like organized military power of a bourgeois class of people, of an ownership class of people, right? That's how they get their capital. So these are just like formations that they use to control different regions of the world. But like Ghislaine Maxwell's dad, Robert Maxwell, is like one of the most influential intelligence agents of all time. He was and it's likely that he was sharing contacts with Epstein. That stuff is actually like in the files. It's known information. We don't know how much of it's true or not because when you're dealing with intelligence, you're dealing with purposely false information too. But like anybody with that level of power, like that's why I say like that goes hand in hand. Like people that are getting that level of power get there because they're sadists. They like to be cruel to children, to women. I mean, they see us as beneath them, right? They're raised that way, and then they use us as tools for their own gratification and their own enrichment. So, not surprising.
Yeah,
I
I think multiple things could be true.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, V. Let me just real quick.
Go
I
ahead.
think he could be exactly what Rod said. A guy that was just feeding himself these people, whatever it was to get his rocks off. I also think he was working between nations and working deals. Here's my whole thing with it. You don't bring powerful people to an island and let them mess around with kids and not use that as blackmail if you're a guy that literally doesn't care about people. Additionally, and I for sure don't want to go down this rabbit hole, there is no conspiracy about his connection to Israel. There is zero conspiracy about that. That is just like, that's a real thing. But does that mean that he didn't do stuff for other places? I think he definitely wheeled a deal. And I think V said it, or maybe Mike said it, where he was using all of these. He was like the middleman, like, yo, we're going to do this over in this country. I'm going to get this money here. We're going to do something over there. I'm going to do something there. But his loyalties have to be Israel and America. And I don't know which one is priority, but I'm sure both of those places are his,
Zero. Zero loyalty to Israel or America. None.
So let me.
but if you, okay, so here's how I interpret these kind of conversations. If you say I can't say something, not me directly, but just in general, because it's a conspiracy, and then you're like, for a matter of fact, I know, then I got to ask, were you at the island? Because how do you know? Right? Like,
Well, I've been past it, guys.
like, how do you know for sure when we're like, dude, he had the prime minister of Israel at his house all the time? That's not a conspiracy. That's just, look who walked out the door. Oh, it's this guy. Day after day, month after month.
It
That's
also,
a connection. Like,
Where
There's
but
well,
that's not your order of operations is just backwards. That's all. Mitt Romney has had for a long time a very special relationship with Bibi Netanyahu. Where did that relationship? Where was that relationship established? Bain Capital. Bain hedge fund.
yeah.
Bain Capital. That's before Bibi was involved in Israeli government. He was in business at Bain with mittens.
yeah,
Right?
but I mean,
But let me make one point about the intelligence thing, because I've been trying to say this. There is a huge difference between what Robert Maxwell did and what Epstein did. Let me just say my piece on this. So Robert Maxwell was he loved Israel. That was his core, right? He smuggled the planes and the parts of the planes during the 6-day, the Israeli war to fight against Egypt and Jordan and all the Middle Eastern countries right after Israel got their plot of land, right? So he is the one that gave Israel a fighting chance to win that war. Everyone says without his involvement of smuggling that planes, Israel would have likely lost that war. No one knew that they had planes. He was the one that smuggled them in. Now, why am I making that a big point? Because Robert Maxwell was also worked for the British Army. There's connections to him to the Russian intelligence, right? So, but his core heart was always with Israel. Now, Epstein, although he worked with Israel, there's not confirmed information that he was necessarily an actual agent of Israel. And I want to make sure people have this distinction, because I think he was working with Israel and other countries to benefit himself, but not necessarily to benefit Israel. And that's a huge difference between Robert Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Do you understand my distinction and why I felt I had to say it? That I think is a huge difference.
And what I would say,
absolutely. So let me just toss this in, and then I'll shut up. I hear you, but your order of operations is backwards. It's certainly that was Maxwell's shtick, but in general, this is a class. This is a class of people, right? And it's, my ex stepfather was the president of Price Waterhouse. After that, when he retired, he became the undersecretary of economics at the UN. This is a class of people that move sort of fluidly between high-end business and government, and overt government and covert government. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So it becomes a seasoning packet. Yes, he was a very fervent supporter of Israel. That doesn't mean that Jeffrey Epstein was a fervent supporter of Israel. Jeffrey Epstein was a fervent supporter of his bank account.
Yes.
yeah, but there's also money in what they're doing in Gaza, right? They want to turn it into luxury resorts and extract resources, like, and also like the two governments that are most involved in all of this are the ones committing a genocide, right? So like I think like, and they move mostly in lockstep. Israel is Zionist ideology is an extension of manifest destiny ideology. They're using the same tactics America used to conquer America, right? So like I think that's important. And I also think the distinction is important, that it's not like states are tools that capitalists use to divide workers and protect their capital, right? like that's the problem. The state is designed to protect these people, right? It's protecting them from a working class revolt of some sort, right? That's why it was formed in the first place. It's like it's a minoritarian rule over a majority of people. So like that's kind of how it's always worked.
Hey, real
Government
quick,
is
man,
just
sidebar.
organized crime.
Sidebar.
What'd you say, Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Government is just organized crime. Like their job is to take the people's money and get what they want. Like John Gotti is basically the president, That's the way governments are. And it's not just our government, it's the Israeli government, it's the British government, it's the French government. They're all the same. It's
Hey,
just different ways.
Jesus,
V, Mike, and Rod. That was an awesome exchange. That was a good exchange. That I learned a lot just listening to that. Now, that don't mean I won't wake up tomorrow and go, wait a second. But
As you should.
at face value, that was a pretty awesome exchange.
Now, body language wise, Rod, you look like you
I caught that
disagree.
too.
Oh yeah.
Well, we know why though, but we had
Yeah,
episode
we're
with
gonna
Rod
jump
before.
topics if I answer that question. Let's just move on.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, because I'll get in there because he
Yeah.
said design. Okay,
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah,
I
no,
got you.
no. But anyway, so I guess one of my questions is that with everything that happened with Epstein and that's happening with Epstein and everything like that, what's the possibility, do you all think that our president or any number of leaders are possibly compromised now at this point? Because like Jesus said, the sole purpose of getting these people onto this island it was probably blackmail. You know what I mean? But the whole time we were looking at Russia, like, oh, Russia has something on Trump. Russia. But what if it's not Russia? What if it was the Epstein? What if there was the Epstein type angle to this, as far as like having something and holding something over Trump. What do you guys think about something like that? As far as
Absolutely. I don't even know if you have to even think that it's the possibility. I actually think it's there. I mean, I don't know if anyone has actually gone to the justice.gov website and started just scrolling on some of the movies. It is disgusting. Let me tell you, I wanted to cry. I shit you not. There are what looks like 7 to 8 year old girls where their faces are redacted. They're literally tied up on a bed. And there's videos of that happening while he's singing and dance. I mean, the abuse that went on. And so he had something called the Ubiquity system at his Palm Beach house. Ubiquity is designed to have the most, literally, if you're a geek, you know what I'm talking about, the best system for monitoring and surveillance possible for businesses. It's not meant for, like Planeteer type of stuff. It's meant for businesses to be able to have every single piece of documented information, to categorize it, to then make backups on CDs and then physical tapes. I know that a lot of people may not understand this, but we actually, long time ago, used to save data on physical plastic tapes. And so he had this in his Palm Beach place. And everyone talks about his island and his Palm Beach place, but then think about the New Mexico place, where in some of the files, they think there's dead bodies in the fucking place. So, I'm sorry, I'm swearing too much. But the point here is that there's absolutely information on Trump. There's information on a lot of other people. And I'm not just saying it's on Trump. I'm sure Bill Clinton's on there too. So this is not a partisan thing. But he had video. Why did he record every goddamn thing? It wasn't just so he could jerk off and watch it for later. He was using blackmail on every person that visited him.
Whoa. His answer was
And
yes.
that's how he does
Trying
his.
to make it that blackmail is a tool in a toolbox. Blackmail.
Oh yeah,
is a tool
there's definitely
in
other
a toolbox. Right. It wasn't his only tool.
No.
It was a tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can't. It's not accurate to say, oh well, Jeffrey Epstein was a blackmailer. That explains it. No, that only explains part of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
One of the things that he was doing.
AV, did you hit us with tapes and CDs like we're all younger than you? Like you must be the youngest dude on this whole thing.
I'm 47.
Like we go back to 8 tracks over here. Like, what's up, bro?
Thank you.
Let's go.
Thank you.
I remember I used to play with him in the back of my father's car.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
He's
Rashawn,
stacking to make houses out of.
I was actually talking about data tapes, not.
I got you.
Then we had cassettes. Then we had fucking CDs. And now we don't need any of them. I want my money back.
I'm just harassing you, B. Hey, Rashad, can you reword or restate the question one more time?
I guess what I was saying was, how deep do you think the compromise is going? Like, how deep do you think it went with Epstein? Because I really do feel like we have a ton of world leaders out there right now that are just compromised, probably shaking in their boots and everything like that. And then on top of that, what type of policy do you think was made because of the way that they have been compromised? Do you think it was just strictly wealth? It was extracted, or do you think there was anything? Would you think it went further than that?
I personally think I probably align more with Rod. It's more than just one specific thing that was going on. Mm-hmm. Do I think people are compromised? Yeah. And I definitely think anyone who's helping to cover this, they should also be punished for this. Like, this is insane. So, like, there was a time when I thought, oh, Trump's in there. And then I was like, wait a minute. He ain't in there, because why would he want to release the stuff? But have you ever had, like, your wife or your girlfriend be like, hey, you want to go do this thing? And you're like, no. But in your mind, you're like, if I say yes, maybe she'll be letting me off the hook. That's what Trump did. He was like, let me go ahead and tell these people to release these files. Then everyone will think I'm out of them. And then when they were like, all right, let's release them, he was like, hold on. It's a hoax.
You talking about like when
I definitely think he's in there.
You talking about like when you're like, hey, no, go look at my phone. No, go ahead. You can look at my phone, knowing damn well you got something on your phone.
And then just go ahead and do it. You try to do the reverse psychology thing.
Yeah.
Like he tried that on everyone. And then when Congress asked him, we're like, we're going to release these files. He was like, wait a minute, this is a hoax. You guys still talking about this?
But again,
That's when I
right?
thought, oh, okay, he definitely
Money,
went to a party and saw that some kids
money
in
and
there.
power and money, right?
Yeah,
The two are inextricably linked. It's not just whether Trump is in the files or not,
nope,
right? It now obviously he's broadcast that he knew what was
right,
going on. Everybody knew what was going on. Money and power and money, right? He's not just protecting himself.
right, and that's the thing right there. Like that right there. Let's say that he's not in there in a funny way. Personally, I show up at anyone's house and there ain't nothing but kids in there and none of their parents. Bruh, we up out of here. But anyway, even if he isn't in there, I mean, he's obviously in the files, but if he isn't in the files in that criminal way, he knows that the same guy who's literally trying to tell us we got to remove people from the country because they're criminals is protecting an elite class of criminals. That alone needs to be answered for and be accounted for. So even if he's not in there, I wouldn't be. It's not like I'm gonna be heartbroken if he's not in there, or if he is. It's just where's the accountability? I think that's literally in every walk of life. All we want is accountability. You can make
No, he's
mistakes,
definitely in
take
there. He's definitely in there.
responsibility, and be accountable.
It's like I said, when he was elected president, Pam brought him in that room and told him, like, hey man, you know you in these files. And he like, what? I mean, see, this
Nobody
is what
told
I'm
him
saying.
he knew. He authored
No,
it.
he knew. No, he knew to an extent. Like he thought, like, oh yeah, I hung out with him a couple times. You know, that's I don't care what they ain't got nothing on me. That was his train of thinking. And she was like, no, you're in there like 4,000 over 4,000 times. Like what?
It's
Like,
a
yeah,
million.
he's got every number there is. You have. He has it. Really? Yeah, you in there. So we're gonna have to make this disappear. Like, oh yeah, because this ain't good. And then that's when he was in there with Rubio, and he comes out like, "Oh, we still talk about that Epstein stuff. God, get on to something else. Let's move on."
That's right.
That's
right.
all that happened
Jeffrey
in a sequence. I'm telling you,
Epstein?
man, this man did not know he was in that deep. He didn't think he was in that deep.
Dude,
You know him. He's
think back.
he's a pompous salesman, bro. He ain't no
think
genius. He
back a year.
ain't no genius, man.
Think back a year. He was asked about Epstein about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, and he said, "Oh no. I kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago because he was stealing an employee." Okay. Okay. The employee that he stole was 16 years old, and she worked in the women's locker room. So, how many employees you figure he's got at Mar-a-Lago? And like worked in the women's locker room on like spring break. He wasn't even a full-time employee, right? So why would the guy that owns Mar-a-Lago know anything about a 16-year-old girl who's working in the locker room?
Well, I think too, like
He knew.
I think too.
Well, he thought the
like,
Epstein files was going to be the Clinton files. That's what he thought.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the narrative.
And they was like, dude, you're in there too. Like, what? Yeah.
It's
over
also
4,000
like
times.
It's also like this is why I say it's bigger than the files. Like the human trafficking industry rakes in $236 billion a year. It's a gigantic industry, and the number one thing that creates trafficking victims is creating refugees and child deportation in any country it happens in, and especially when you're separating children from their parents. Like human trafficking surged in America under Trump's first administration. And we don't have accurate numbers right now, but I'm sure it's surging right now. So it's like they're creating the vulnerabilities that create trafficking victims.
It's a great
as
point.
they're also avoiding accountability for trafficking. So
Great point.
That's an amazing point, bro.
That's a whole nother. We got to meet again to be continued.
Right. No, I didn't even think that
You
was a
just
great
you just hit the pinata and everything fell out, and we like, oh
wow.
what will we learn next week?
Well, Mike, you actually, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, I mean, you kind of alluded to that in that little piece that you sent me, man. And you also talked about, there are like, I want to say systems that do punish or, minimize what we're seeing here. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's an interesting point that you made as well, brother.
yeah, so I'm I'm a socialist, right? And I support.
We couldn't tell.
Yeah, I support socialist states in history. So like think about Cuba, right? Cuba was an Epstein island before it had its revolution. There were people that were enslaved on plantations. There were sex slaves. There were mob-run casinos. The Cuban people had a revolution and seized all that land. At the time, that land was 40% owned by American billionaires, right? Who were going to that island and having sex with children and gambling and doing all the stuff they're doing on Epstein Island, right? And when they called the Cuban people authoritarian, who were they referring to? They were putting to death plantation owners, and and yes, obviously, like anytime you have a revolution, things are not going well in your country. There were times when they overstepped their bounds. There were times when they made mistakes. But at the end of the day, this resentment, this stuff that's happening against Cuba today, with the Trump administration starving them off, that's also based in a resentment from people having a revolution do that same thing. One of the things in the Epstein files, right? He was working to help unseat Soviet power in the 1990s because he saw that as a ripe market. They're like white. This is like because of white supremacy, which is awful. But like white women are more valuable in the trafficking industry, and the most exploitable white women are in Eastern Europe. There weren't these same level of sex trafficking networks that were happening when the Soviet Union was in power. And again, it's not to say they did everything perfectly, but for this particular crime, they held that stuff at bay. And I would say that's evidence that a socialist system, when they call it authoritarian, what they're referring to is that they punish billionaires for doing the kind of things billionaires do. And I would highly suggest to anybody just revisit your Cold War history, look at how those countries were organized and what they were doing, because I think what you would find that they were doing a lot by their people that was actually working, increasing literacy, increasing life expectancy, and stopping sex trafficking. So,
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah, no,
Of course you do, V. Of course you
no,
do.
but honestly, when I read that piece, it blew my mind. I have to read it again. I only read it the one time, Mike, but I mean, it really did blow my mind what you had wrote, and it was very enlightening. And that's why I was kind of excited to have you on here, because I wanted you to bring that here. I want you to speak upon that. I saw you, Jesus, do the. What were you thinking, man?
Yo, man.
We're gonna make Jesus a socialist. I'm telling you, we're gonna make him that. We're gonna convert you, bro.
The thing is, I don't do peer pressure like that. Immune. I have to get there on my own accord.
Fair enough.
It'll never happen for me, buddy.
Yeah,
Don't never say never. Never say never.
No, it'll never happen.
Justin Bieber told you that.
Shallow,
No.
I know you got a big question for us. Go ahead and hit us with the big one. What is it?
Man, I don't really have a close. I don't have a closeout. The thing I am wondering though is like, okay, you got this Maxwell chick. Instead of making a deal with her, dude, I tell her, dude, if you don't tell us what we need to know, we're gonna fry you. You get the death penalty. How about that? Instead of trying to make a deal with her, why not prosecute her to the fullest of the law? You want to be under the jail? If you don't start talking right now, we got a hole for you that we're digging right now, and we're putting you in it. I mean,
think they already-
I mean, double jeopardy. You can't.
I think they already know.
You think
What do you mean
Ghislaine
double
Maxwell
jeopardy?
hasn't been threatened with that for a very long time?
What, the death penalty?
Just torture in general.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be a threat.
version of
It wouldn't.
death
If
penalty.
coming from me, it wouldn't be a threat. Like I want you to really not tell me so I can fry you. Like get ready, warm the chair up, guys. Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me what I want to know. Please.
The thing is,
Yeah,
let's say that they say we're going to make a deal with her. To me, it won't satisfy us because we already know she knows, and she's not going to tell us. So just by saying, if you give me a deal, that already told us she has the information that everybody wants.
Now that
So,
brings me
I don't
to
know,
another
that's a tough
question that I
But
had.
would you
I had
believe her
another.
if she came out with it? Would she
Yeah.
be believable if she came out with it?
No. She's already lied too much. No one can believe her. I mean, that's the thing about Ghislaine Maxwell. She is denied. Like, she did come back and say, "Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't deserve this because of blah blah blah." She's saying she never did anything wrong. So
Never
you
saw
can't.
it. Right.
She's
Right,
she's
because the
she
people
never.
she has to protect, I mean, are really high ranking people, and that's what I was going to. One other question I didn't get in during the discussion, I wanted to ask, like, who would have jurisdiction? Because you got like Prince Andrew, we don't have no jurisdiction over him, and the Sultan of uh Saudi Arabia, whatever, the Sultan of
Yeah.
this, and the
I mean, we didn't
the
have
Prince.
jurisdiction over Venezuela, and we went down there and did what we wanted
There
to
you
Oh,
do.
go.
Yeah.
There ain't no
I
rules. Like we
it
can't.
but
We're
I
living under this guise where we think like, well, they double jeopardy and all these rules. But
Yeah.
these people we're talking about, they have no. They basically have told us those rules are for us, not for them.
Not for them.
So
I can tell
yeah,
you what I'm waiting to see, and this is the only prediction that I'll have for you. So, Chalo, maybe to answer your question from where this all started, that this is now very well known international, and that the files are now, or at least half of them, are searchable. Western European and countries in the UK are getting involved with their own, and I think it might not matter ultimately what this administration's Justice Department does, because Norway might pop up and say, "Oh, by the way, we we have the whole list now, and you, and U20 are all fucked."
yeah, like some of that testimony could come out and be like, yeah, I was
Right,
in there with them kids, and Donald
right.
was in there with them, and
We've
Bill was in there
already
with them, and
we
whoever
have
and whoever and whoever.
we have given up our place in the world pecking order, and
Yep.
Europe is taking its shit back, and this will be part of that process. That's my only prediction.
Rod,
Good.
I think you're right. I mean, I said it like in the beginning of this program, right? I was talking about Norway, UK, UAE. There's been accountability in 4 other countries. There's been zero accountability in this one. And I do think you're right. I think as more and more records get released, more and more countries are going to start prosecuting and investigating, and we're going to learn more stuff. And that's why I said, like, I know, Chalo, that you said it doesn't matter what the public knows. You want prosecutions. I don't think the prosecutions are going to come from the Department of Justice. Like I said, she won't even interview. Pam Bondi won't even interview the victims. She doesn't care about justice. This is all about protecting everyone under her control. Leon Black, right? He's in the files about doing disgusting things to a 7-year-old. His son works for the Trump administration, doing international finance on funding public and private partnerships. The things that his father are doing or did was disgusting. Do you know the only accountability he has right now is that people are stopping school pictures because his company, Apollo, it's huge, but they are the mass investor in one of the largest school photography companies in the United States. So parents are choosing not to have their pictures taken. That's the only type of accountability we're going to see here, but the UK and Europe, and as Rod said, the rest of the countries, they are going to take the lead. They've been taking the lead on everything from climate change to actual child trafficking justice. As we become more and more isolated, because Trump doesn't care about being, having any soft power anymore. It's all about America first, but we're last. I think we're going to see the justice happening on the world stage that has nothing to do with us. And the people that do want to see justice, we're not going to be looking at Washington. We're going to be looking at the UN. We're going to be looking at the EU and seeing how they can bring justice, because we can't do a goddamn thing about it.
Okay. Well, we're gonna do final thoughts, right, Cello? So, Mark, you got anything? Any final?
you've been
Any final
quiet,
thoughts?
Mark. What
I
the
know, Mark.
hell?
You torched them in the beginning, man. His
Oh my
pants are still
God.
on fire.
I think,
He sets
like
himself
V
up for
said,
it, bro.
V said right. It's gonna take other countries that don't have the systems we do. They're gonna take their part and do their part. And I think that's the only way we're gonna get more accountability. I still don't think we'll get complete accountability. It just can't happen because the people that make the rules are the people that are in the files.
Okay. Okay.
True.
How about you, Mike?
I think that we need to fight more of the class war and less of the culture war, and I don't mean that to say we do need to understand that people come from different backgrounds, and some people have been more oppressed historically than others, and we also need to reverse those differences before we can move on to other types of oppression. But at the same time, like we all have a vest. You look at how they talk about us in the Epstein files, right? They talk about us like we're nothing, like we're objects for their gratification, right? And anybody that works for a living that like has to pay a monthly mortgage or a monthly rent or whatever, we all have a vested interest in taking power from these people. And if we can do it on an international stage and stop these like petty arguing over our ethnicity, our race, or gender, excuse me, we could actually win against these people. There's much more of us than there are of them. So that's what I'd say.
All right. Mike speaks my language, so. How about you? How about you, Rod? What you got, brother?
You know, I just don't believe the hype, man. Red wine with fish is fine. It's fine.
All right.
He's right
B.
too, especially fried. Fried foods are good with red wine.
I'm not a wine
It's
drinker,
fine.
so
Don't let the hate get you down. It's okay.
okay. What's up with you, Brown Chubby? What you got for us, man?
I mean, I really, I thought that that really was my closing statement, but I'll just spin on just a tiny bit.
Oh, damn it! I should have just went.
Right.
You should have, but you gave me the floor, so now I'm gonna say, don't worry, it's gonna be
Damn
short.
it,
It's gonna be short.
In my
It's gonna be
latest
short.
video, if you watch it,
man. My bad, Charlo. I should have been.
You should have, but you gave me the floor, but I will address something that Chalo said, or actually Jesus said, where Jesus, you said, you didn't think that Trump would allow, release the files because, why would he? Because if he's in it. But one of the things that I think he thought is because he doesn't send emails out. And I think that's where he really thought that most of the files were emails. He doesn't use emails. He has people print out emails and stuff. And so he didn't think he was going to be in most of the files because he didn't communicate with Jeffrey Epstein that way. So I think that's where he was like, it's not going to be me. I didn't even email this fucker. But the thing is, there are so many other people talking about him and talking about what he did. And then obviously there are, the recordings and stuff like that, which he knows that he can tell his very loyal attorney general who protected him when she was here in Florida protecting him, that she was going to do the rest of the protecting. So I think that was his strategy. Flood the zone. Steve Bannon flood the zone. Put as much shit out there as possible. He didn't have email, so there, you can't really search easy when you're looking at the OCR search on justice.gov. And so now he can say, listen, look at all the other people out there. I'm not in there. I'm on your side, guys. And I think that's what he thought.
Okay. All right. Hey, Zeus, hurry up before he come back. I'm just messing.
I know, right? I'm gonna say
that was quick. I guess
I'm gonna say it's Gilligan's Island, man. This is Gilligan's Island. We be like, oh snap! Congress got the coconut phone. They're getting off the island this time, and then boom, next week something else is gonna happen, and we're never gonna get there. As crazy as it sounds, I agree with Mark. I agree with Mike. I agree with V. I don't drink wine, but I like fish, so I agree with Rod. but one last point I want to make is tie it back to Chalo's opening question on the muddy waters. Is I think in the files there are purposeful lies in the files, so that they can go, oh, this one right here is a blatant lie, so all of it is now. None of us are in there. That's all made up. And I think that some of that's going to start happening, where they start planting, if it hasn't already, they're going to start planting some stuff. Because a lot of it, like, just because the files are there, it doesn't mean everything in the files is actually true, right? Like, that's the thing. I don't think just because the person's name's in there, but I do think we're going to start seeing some, like, off-the-wall stuff. And they're going to be like, oh, you see that? Like I don't know what it was, Trump with Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
I personally think that was real, but you can mark that as an official conspiracy theory. But I think Chalo, I think they'll muddy it up that way. Other than that, it's Gilligan's Island, man. We'll see what happens next week. Maybe they'll get the coconut phone figured out and get off the island. But until then, I don't know.
Man, well, for me, I don't know. If you had asked me 3-4 years ago, would I be believing some of the stuff that I'm hearing right now? I'd tell you absolutely not, man. I'd say you're crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. I don't even want to argue with you. But the Epstein case has basically kind of revealed to us that, child sex trafficking can operate, and it is operating within very powerful and wealthy circles. And in that, it's exposing very systemic failures that we're seeing. It is basically showed, how people are using their wealth, their influence, and social status, and it's shielding them from being held accountable for the actions that they have done. Now, I know Charles is going to hate this, but I'm going to argue that capitalism and the capitalist society that we live in is a large root cause of why we see these issues. I mean, yes, there's the human factor, but when you have systems that kind of prioritize profit and the commodification of human beings, you're going to see things like sex trafficking, slavery, genocide of like the Native American people and everything like that to further capitalist goals. So in my mind, I think that, sex trafficking would therefore, it would require addressing the economic structures that would allow these individual children and individuals to be exploited, like Mike said. So, meaningful change to me, it'll involve prioritizing human dignity and accountability and protecting the most vulnerable members of society, our children. I'll leave it at that.
Cool. All right. Well, all I got to say is this is probably the greatest podcast ever created because Mark and V agreed with each other. So, I mean, you really can't tell me nothing after that, man. The agreement that I brought together, I mean, cannot. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. When we got Mark and V agreeing with each other, I mean, that's progress. And I think, like, as a country, I mean, we got to have more of that. That's what it takes. You just got to have a conversation about it, talk it out. You're gonna have your differences, but shoot, you listen to Mark, man. He might have changed. Though I don't know what's happened to him, man. He didn't say nothing crazy the whole show. I mean, hey, he might be coming around, so you never know. Maybe a change is gonna come. I can't, I can't knock it. But it was a good talk, guys, and we're gonna peace out of here.
All right.